everybody, and welcome to the F Your Fears podcast. I am your host, Ashley Monique Menard. I'm a writer, actor, and mother of 5 beautiful plants, as well as the host of the F Your Fears podcast. I have been so grateful to have interviewed over 60 people here on the show and to be able to learn about different people's journeys and stay connected with this incredible arsenal of people. So if you are a creative and you have a story that you'd like to share, send me a message. If you are a creative and you want to learn, you are in the right place. We talk about fears on this show, and the reason we talk about fears is because I'm scared of a lot of stuff in life. I really am. And I try to pride myself on being fearless, and it's hard. It's hard sometimes, I'm not going to lie. And I get inspired by each and every single person who comes on this show, which is why I do this show, and which is why I share it with you. Because I know if it touches me, chances are it's going to touch someone else. So that's why I do it. And I'm just so grateful. I'm going to be taking a short break in the month of June, but I will be back in July with more episodes. I need to take a break because I need to focus on writing The Art of Blowing It and devote all of my attention to that. So I'm very excited for that. With that said, this month is May. Who knows when you're going to listen to this, but this month is May, and in honor of May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And I struggle with that. A lot of us do, right? It's tough. It's tough. It's tough for so many reasons. Like, we grow up conditioned in a certain family, and we're just trying to find our place in whatever stage, where if we're firstborn, secondborn, thirdborn, and we develop these personalities based on how people perceive us, how we perceive ourselves. And then all of a sudden one day you take a step back and you're like, who am I? And of course it's a journey. And I think it's okay to ask those questions of who am I? What am I doing? Why am I here? Did I make the right decision? Should I be in this business? Those are questions I think we all ask at some time or another. If you're creative and if you do it for long enough, you're bound to ask that question. I think it's normal. I think we do the things that we feel that we need to when we're doing them. And by that, I mean, I think if we feel like it's time for us to move on to something else, we do. And if we come back, we do. And I think that that's okay. I think it's important to give yourself that grace. And I'm so excited about our guest today. He is an incredible singer, a terrific MC, a wonderful host. I fell in love with him at Actoria here in Astoria. I thought, what a unique spirit. And I'm so grateful that I've gotten to know him and I'm able to call him my friend. His name is Josh Bardier. And if you know musical theater and you're here in the city, you've run into him at some point. And I'm so grateful that he is who he is, and that he shares that with us, his wonderfully unique story. So today we talked to... I almost knocked my computer over. So today we talk to Josh, and we talk about a lot of things. We talk about his career and how he moved to New York with, $3 and a dream. And we also talk about mental health and how that's affected his life. And Josh is brave and he doesn't shy away from difficult topics. And the reason he does that is because he knows there's so much power in sharing your story and able to help others. So I'm just in awe of him because I just find him to be so strong. And I've seen his beautiful spirit time and time again. And I'm just such a big fan. So today he's on the show and I'm very, very much looking forward to that. But we've also got a part 2. His part 2, he shares the 5 musicals that he would share with someone who fell from the sky. I thought it was a fun little. If someone fell from the sky, what would you choose? So that's what he chose. So that's going to be in a part 2 episode. So that's going to come out next week. But if you listen to this a while after it's released, it's the next episode. So yeah, so that's what's going on, and let's go ahead and bring out Josh. Let's do it, Josh Bardier. To the stage, please.
Is your current headshot a little outdated? Is it in black and white? Head over to Queen Self Tape and get yourself some new headshots. Gabe Awan's got affordable prices and can also help you with self-tapes. www.queenselftape.com.
Hey Josh, how's it going?
So good. So good.
So good. God, you guys, Josh is on the show. Like, what? How did this happen? This is amazing. I'm so excited.
You asked me, and I said yes.
Love it. Josh, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody how we know each other?
We met because of Actoria, I believe, which is a cabaret that I started in 2014 in a basement restaurant that started off as a one-night event for Halloween and turned into the opportunity when the manager saw that people enjoyed hearing talented singers who weren't asking for pay to try to do it more than once. And it became a once a week jam. And we turned it into something that was a nothing that became a something. And we started in 2014. We were still going very strong before COVID. We've had different residencies. We've found our proper, truest home at Beans and Lager in Astoria.
Such a great place. I love that place.
Beautiful people, beautiful owners who just believed in what Actoria was, which was all about community and coming to do what you love to do. And you were one of the first people to say yes to trying to make Actoria be something, which I think is a testament to what you always are, which is you are always somebody who is a spearheader, who is always ahead of the crowd, even if they don't realize it. You're always doing your hustle.
God,
As I like to say, you're doing a hustle, but you're making it look like a shuffle.
Ooh, that's good. That's good. Plus, you make it sound like I can dance, and I appreciate that.
I've seen you. We've both been in a room for New Year's Eve. We know how to bust a move.
We know how to bust a move. We totally know how to bust a move. So yeah, everybody, that's how we know each other. We know each other originally from meeting at Actoria. Once I saw Josh on stage and different versions of stages because, for those performers out there, like Actoria was in a room in Astoria in a beautiful restaurant, but like it's one of those settings of like almost like a dinner theater interactive thing where you're singing a song that's like about your love and life, and there's a guy eating pasta right in front of you, like right in front of you. And so it's a very specific experience. And for those musical theater performers who've done that kind of stuff, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For you comedians out there who have played those rooms, and it's such a specific thing that like only a certain amount of people really get. Like you get that awkwardness of here I am singing Defying Gravity and your pizza just came out.
100%. Or it's date night on a Wednesday night because that's when you decided date night was going to be, and you're trying to eat a flank steak and you're getting a performance that you did not expect. And the best, especially in the beginning, was everyone fell in love with it. And if they didn't fall in love with it and weren't staying there until the end, you better believe that they just ate their dinner, saved room for dessert someplace else, and peaced out. So it was always great. It was great to see the number of people that set would go, I had no idea what to expect. And then we stayed. And then we just started getting more and more people who would just come to hang out on Wednesdays. I mean, granted, we also had an excellent bar to keep them very, very busy and happy.
Mm-hmm.
So it was great to see people from the community or even elsewhere from Long Island show up and just be these weekly regulars to just want to come and see talent. And you would
Yeah.
hear them say, why aren't these people on Broadway? And I would
All the
look at
time.
them all the time and I would go, well, some of them have been on Broadway and don't have a job right now. And others just came back from tours, and others are working on their own material, and others are just literally auditioning for their lives every single day and need someplace to come to be able to sing more than 16 bars like they do an audition. And it's a mixture of everyone, but the best part of it was that we all are the same in the sense that we came to this city for that reason, which is to pursue our dream, to pursue our passion.
We have a lot of creatives out there who listen to this show and grab pieces of each episode, and I like to think put them in their pocket and put them next to their heart, because I know I learn a little bit from each person, which leads me to my first question. Because you said moving here, like so many of us have moved here. Let's flash back for a second, okay? So where were you born?
I was born in Worcester, Massachusetts, which is known as the New Jersey of Massachusetts.
God bless.
Truly the most perfect place for me to be born. Trash, unionizers, screaming Italians, Democrats just demanding every single thing for every single person. I couldn't have asked for a better education of life and how to start viewing my, creating my worldview of how I wanted to exist in the world.
So when you were a kid and you were starting to come up and like, you know, you're growing up, you're trying to figure out life like we do when we're kids. What were you getting into when you were a kid?
Myself.
Okay.
I lived a different journey than I think many, again, what I love is everybody's journey is different. Everybody's story is different, but there does tend to be that story of I saw X show and I told my mom, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And then I never stopped doing shows. At the age of 4, I was playing Rose and Gypsy.
I was. You've seen my resume.
I would actually love to see that. And I feel like the truth that you would bring to that role at the age of 4 was spot on.
Astounding. I did play Tevye for my parents whenever I was 15. My dad loved the song If I Were a Rich Man, so I would sing it to him on repeat and pretend I was a man.
You know what's ironic? I love when rich people love the song If I Were a Rich Man. It just makes me laugh that it's their favorite musical theater song. I'm like, was this your manifestation of how to make your money?
Seriously.
No, my journey was really simple in the sense that I was a very quiet kid. I grew up in an Italian house, which was very loud and surrounded by very, very strong, powerful women who ran everything. There's that saying from my big fat Greek wedding where she says, the man is the head of the house, but the woman is the neck. I'm pretty sure all the women in my house were just the end all be all. Grew up with a lot of older women, my grandmother, my great aunts, all in the same house on a triple decker, which is not just a sandwich. It's what Worcester folks call these 3 story houses. And we owned one, had my grandmother, had my aunts, had my great aunts. And I just learned through them. I became instantly an old soul. And I was very quiet. And in that quiet, I spent a lot of time imagining, a lot of time playing, a lot of time by myself. And that was my first introduction to creativity, which was me being outside and the world that I was in, the hill, the tree, becoming a fort, becoming a palace, becoming a rock, becoming my version of me doing the Little Mermaid. And it never really involved any other people. I went to Catholic school my whole life, and in Catholic school you don't necessarily live next to everyone. So I didn't have friends that were like next door neighbors. I had myself, and I had an older sister, but we were at that point in age where we weren't necessarily hanging out together. She was too busy telling me that she would take my one $10 bill for 5 single dollar bills. And I fell for it every time. Probably still fall for it in some capacity. Yeah, it started then. My theater bug was going to a awful production of Phantom, the Maury Yeston version, at a summer theater camp. Can you imagine choosing Maury Yeston's Phantom for a summer theater camp for teenagers? That's literally, I don't even think that I could handle going to that camp. Like, that's like asking 7-year-olds to do the Laramie Project. And but I was, my mom said, do you want to go? And I was like, what is it? And she said, it's a musical. I was like, and she goes, I'll let you have M&Ms, and I promise there's a trapdoor or something fun. Trapdoor won me over. So I always thank trapdoors for basically being my gateway drug into the theater. So thank you, IATSE, and every scenic designer that has ever put a trapdoor into a musical or into a play, because you are what did it for me. They had a cardboard chandelier that fell. I thought it was the most magical thing.
Of course.
It was cardboard. I can see it today, but it looked real, and it fell on the ground, and there was a blackout. And I just remember getting a jolt, the same jolt that I got when I was still sticking 9-volt batteries between my tongue. It was that same electric jolt. Yes, I used to do that. I used to put that in my mouth.
So you had like a sense, so sensory was super big for you, I'm guessing, as a child, in order to like put 2 and 2 together, right?
Yeah, very, very big. It was definitely, for me, it was this magical moment of seeing this, being this kid being told to sit in a seat and be quiet and not understand why, because I've never been told to necessarily be quiet anywhere else except school and church, and to not be allowed to go on to that place that's called a stage, to know that something's about to happen, to see these musicians on the side preparing for something. Everything was in preparation for something, and the minutes are going down, the seconds are coming, and then the lights go out. And for me, I think there was, if I look back now, I'll say in the beauty of hindsight of my young 6 or 7-year-old mind, it was like going to church. It was the equivalent of the organ starting to play or the cantor starting to sing. It was this electric moment of something is about to now happen that deserves reverence and deserves quiet and peace and is going to bring you somewhere. You will not be the same as you were when you left, when you entered, I mean. And that started, and that kind of became the bug. For me, it wasn't maybe necessarily theater itself. It was really the music. Music became my absolute passion. I have been told that I have the soul of a percussion section drummer in an orchestra meets the horns with how I act in the world. So I think I connected very, very quickly to there's this magic happening between music and people on stage and people in an audience, and it's all so cyclical, and everybody is in this symbiosis of energy sharing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was beautiful. It was beautiful, and it didn't stop. And then it started turning into, where can we get the next tape? Because yes, I started with cassette tapes.
Mm-hmm.
We were not quite there yet with cars with CDs yet. To, that existed. It's amazing to think that that was a thing. But
Agreed.
but I started with the Andrew Lloyd Webber Deluxe Edition anniversary cassette tape.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
what a goodie. What a goodie. So at what point are you like, you know what? I want to do this. Like
Not for a
I'm
very
gonna
long time.
so so it wasn't like high school decided I'm gonna do this. Like you kind of knew in middle school.
In fifth grade, so the visions go like this. In fourth grade, I was asked to sing Any Dream Will Do from Joseph,
Mm-hmm.
and for my fourth grade teacher's retirement party. I botched the lyrics.
Oh
I ran
no.
out of the room. I ran into the boys' room crying.
Oh.
Everybody got me to come back. I didn't want to sing that song. Two other girls who also sang in the choir at the school um, were like, we'll sing tomorrow with you. And so we sang Annie together. And then I kind of put everything aside. And it wasn't until sixth grade I had to do an oral presentation, and I was really lazy and I didn't want to read a long book like everybody
Mm-hmm.
else was. So I read the abridged short story version of Jekyll and Hyde.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really pay attention much to Jekyll and Hyde, the book. I just kept using the musical as my reference points. And I did this full on costume and all. Like, I had two costumes for a costume change so I could go from Jekyll to Hyde.
Ah, that's
I
great.
did the powder in the hair to look older. And I just remember my mom coming home from parent teacher conferences, because this all happened in the same week, and my sixth grade English teacher saying to my mom, I think that Josh is, I know how quiet he is and he rarely ever talks in class, but I think there's something very, very special about how his mind works.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I know that this isn't really a school where we have a theater program or we have things like that, but I would just say, I don't want to teach you how to parent, but like, let him nurture that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it became like, it was not weird for me to be down in the basement doing full-fledged productions, set making sets, or to take all of my Beanie Babies and do all of Les Mis with my Beanie Babies. And like, when ensemble numbers happened, I would take sheets off of like 50 Beanie Babies as if they were now all singing. um
Ah, that's great.
Oh yeah, it didn't stop. In eighth grade was the turning point. We had a group called Declamation, kind of like speech club, but you got to choose different categories. Other places
Mm-hmm.
call it like oratory,
Mm-hmm.
and you had the option of poetry,
Mm-hmm.
contemporary monologues,
Mm-hmm.
duo, which is like
Yep.
hilarious
Oh,
to
we had
think
the same.
that
Yeah.
eighth graders were doing contemporary monologues,
Uh-huh.
or like every single duo was doing Who's on First or something from the Honeymooners. I
Mm.
chose poetry, and I did the cremation of Sam McGee because my my teacher said that I would be able to do accents,
Okay.
and I got to do a Louisiana drawl for it, which
Give it
really,
to me. Give me what your
uh,
Louisiana drawl sounds
I don't
like.
even I don't even think it's it. That's why I shouldn't have even said that, because you would know better than anyone. I think I have more of an Alabama, but it was like, there once was a story of Sam McGee, and he always talked like this, and he had a habit to always be in the woods when he should have been in the woods. Yeah, it
Ooh,
was.
that's very Alabama. That's really good.
I think that's very Alabama. I think that's just
good,
also
though.
because the number of times I've watched Forrest Gump.
I love Forrest Gump.
Now here's where the click goes is
Mhm.
for that you had to audition. I did not want to audition for this declamation club. I was terrified. I didn't prepare anything. Everybody, and let's be very real. We're talking about eighth graders. And this is when I start already knowing the feeling of fear in my body. And my teacher was like, you have to do it. You have to audition. So they said, you don't have to audition in front of everyone. We'll bring you into the computer room and you can just audition for me and this other teacher who was basically like a second mom to me. I did the monologue of Maureen's monologue from Rent.
Yes. Yes.
Now just picture a little Chubba Wubba husky, like,
you were husky.
Oh yeah, I didn't have a growth spurt until I was a sophomore in high school, so I was just this little like pudgewaja, and I am standing in front of my teachers and I'm talking about Alphabet City and forks and spoons jumping over the moon and making them moo with me, and the only way out is up, and they're just so, they didn't know what to do when I finished. They also, like, at that point, I didn't even know. I only listened to Rent and memorized it. I had no idea what AIDS or anything was. In my mind, I was just thinking that AIDS was like, literally, probably I was thinking they were just shortening the word Kool-Aid, which I was in eighth grade. Let's not not forget.
Yeah.
They sent me to every class. I didn't go to class that day. They sent me to every class from kindergarten all the way to my classmates by the end of the day. And I did it. I did it so many times. There's basically 2 rooms for each class. So I did it almost 16 times. And by the time I got to my 8th grade, I was at this place where there was no fear. There was nothing.
That's amazing.
I was getting on the teacher's desk going, moo with me. And then everybody in the school, just for the next week, if they saw me or if they were at lunch, like everyone would just start mooing. It was
awesome.
Magic. And that was the moment where I think the box that I lived in, which was a very, very comfortable, safe place to live, that's when I left the box. And I am still looking for that box. And if anybody happens to find it, I would be most grateful to see it, because once I left it, I seem to have never been able to go back in.
I absolutely love that. And I'd like to challenge you to sing that song and send it to me. I'd love to post that so fans of this episode can listen to you singing that song if you're up for it.
I will. I think that the best part of it is that now that I find Maureen to be one of the most annoying people in the show now, and I'm just like, oh wow, the only reason I enjoyed this was because it was on the album. And they said I had to do something that was spoken and not sung. And I was like, oh, okay, I see. And that's
it's so funny how like whenever you were a kid, like you just don't know shit. And like looking at Rent now, you're like, of course you have to pay fucking rent. You can't just live here for free. What is wrong with y'all? Benny was gonna let y'all live there for a year rent free. Benny is great.
Benny is every person in life that has a savings account and is trying to help their BFA actor friend just survive another year in New York. And they were so rude.
So rude. So angsty.
And
So
It's
angsty.
so angsty. And Roger is just, there's this part, and I always laugh about it. He says something when they're all like going their own way and the motion of the show starts going, and he goes, "I'm not much company you'll find." And I'm just like, okay, beast. Go back to your West Wing.
Do you think Jonathan Sharp was listening to a lot of Beauty and the Beast when he was writing Rent? I'm going to start that rumor. I'm going to say you started it.
I just truly, but also like the thing that I love is that that is based off of opera, and that is how La Boheme is. Everything. If you've ever been to the opera, even if you don't understand a single lick of what they're saying, they are so dramatic and every stakes is high. They could be singing about the fact that all of the Kleenex tissues are gone, and still it would be like a mass murder just happened.
I have so many thoughts about this. I was writing a scene yesterday for The Art of Blowing It season 2, and I was writing something about opera, and it was along the same sentiment. So this feels really good that we just had this moment, because I'm like, yeah, yes, yes, yes. Okay. So it leads me to my next question. You moved to New York.
I did.
What was that transition like, getting to New York?
I have a very different way of getting to New York. I wish I had I wish I could say it wasn't true, but I basically was the $3 2 bags 1 me. I moved to London after I graduated from college. I moved to London, and I moved for love, and love at 22 years old, though wonderful, was not the type of love that was going to become lasting and forever. And me moving into London and completely uprooting my life. And it also helps when things happen in the relationship where trust begins to fall. And I, in a very, very split second decision, decided to pack my bags and leave. I had had enough. I did not think that I was going to be able to make anything work. And I felt like a stranger at that point. And that's a recurring theme in my life. I felt other. I felt other in my own skin. And I packed my bags. I got in a cab. I was in the cab. I got to Heathrow. The cab driver had asked me, they asked me why I was going to Heathrow so early. They were asking in a very concerned way, just because they knew that Heathrow really wasn't opened except for if you wanted to sit in this certain waiting room until the airport opened. And I didn't know what to say. And I just said, I went a death. And it was kind of a lie,
Operatic?
but it wasn't.
Operatic?
It was very operatic.
Yeah.
But it was a death to a life that I was building in my head for almost this year, and it was over. I was at Heathrow. I needed to get online to be able to buy a ticket for that day. And I did, and I had to scurry through trying to buy like janky Wi-Fi, as you do. And I happened to be on Facebook, and just as the universe would have it, a friend of mine, Lenny, sent me a message saying, "Hey, I was just wondering, I know you're in London, but if you happen to know anybody who needs a sublet in New York, I am leaving. I got a job, so let me know." And
Oh my
I
God.
said, when do you have the room available? And she said, by next week. I said, great, I'll take it, and I'll tell you more details later. I got back to Massachusetts. I didn't really even have time to grieve or to mourn. I just took everything about that experience in London of not knowing anybody, of not of finding a job nannying without having any papers or any way to really be paid anything but under the table.
Mm-hmm.
I was working on the West End, and I was just so in the zone to do that again. I
Mm-hmm.
got to 157th and St. Nick. I got dropped off by my parents. They, my aunt and my mom, they looked around. They were terrified, which is hilarious that they were terrified of 157th and St. Nicholas.
Yeah.
And I threw my stuff into a room and I never looked back, until therapy later when I had to look back. But 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 that momentum of getting into a city, of being like, I have done this before and I've done it in a country that is not my own, where I feel, even though we speak the same language, I feel so different,
Mm-hmm.
and other. And I said, okay, just take that same energy and do it again here. And I knew nothing. I had been to New York before for a summer conservatory program training,
Mm-hmm.
but other than that, other than visiting New York for shows, I knew nothing about New York. I didn't know which way was uptown or downtown. I didn't know what was the easiest way to get to places, where a grocery store was. Um, I knew nothing. I knew
Yeah.
absolutely nothing, and I actually thrived because of it.
Isn't it funny?
It is. I
That's
don't think that that's
hilarious.
everyone's journey. I don't
Yeah.
recommend it. I think that, if this is your call, if you feel the urge to come to New York, I don't think you should ever ignore that call. But I do think, I that for me was 2011. It was, as you get older, we all say this. It was a different time.
Totally.
Coming to the city now is really expensive, even more expensive than it was there.
Yeah.
But if you put it in the universe and you say, God, I want to be in New York, that is where I must be, for whatever reason. Because I don't even think I necessarily came to New York directly because I must be in New York for theater. I
Mm-hmm.
just said, I always dreamt of living in New York. I must go there.
Yeah.
And I think if you have that desire, just follow through. Something we don't learn early enough is that everything is temporary. Every single thing, including your life, is temporary. So you can come to New York and you can also leave New York. And there is no one in the world who is going to care.
Yeah. Yeah. Even your roommate will only care for a minute while they're looking for your replacement.
Your
That's
roommate will
it.
be
Yeah.
upset that they have to find someone to pay rent, and then when
Yeah.
that is done, they will truly not say another word. They'll miss you
Yeah.
as a person, but no. Life moves on, and in New York you learn that very, very quickly.
Totally.
You learn
So
how
you,
to ride that wave.
so you get here, you start the auditioning,
Mhm.
and you start booking, you struggle. What does that look like once you start like acclimating and getting your feet wet? Was it a slow burn? Was it like,
Slow
oh,
burn for sure.
yeah.
Exciting.
Hmm.
Exciting because I just was loving what I was doing. I
Hmm.
was loving auditioning. I was loving having people ask me questions about where do I come from? Like, you look so new, so is like an industry word of so green. Like who are you? We've never seen you before, and you seem
Yeah.
to have all this energy. Um, it was a slow burn though. It was a lot of this. What you are giving is great. Do not ignore that. Do not think less than that. But understand that we currently in our community have someone that does that, or we have a relationship with someone that does that.
Hmm.
And it takes a lot of aging and maturity and growth to be able to take that as a that's just not mine, it's not for me. one day it will be for me. One day I will find my community. I will find my people who will in fact say, we want you to be that person in our circle. And I was also a bit of a conundrum, and I've always been a conundrum in theater, because I fit in the industry world. I fit this category, this type, this look, this whatever you want to call it, this genre. But then you meet me, and there's this level of like palpable energy that's almost borderline cuckoo cuckoo, and then there's this other side, which is like what we're doing right now, which is
I
like
love Cuckoo Cuckoo. I
cuckoo
love the Beatles. I
cuckoo,
love it.
so good, cuckoo cuckoo. And then there's like this other part where people will look at me and they'll just be like, wait, but why, how is it possible that you have swagger? Like, how do you have this drawl, and you're from this, like, I just woke up but I have something important to say drawl, but you're
Mhm.
from Massachusetts. It's very interesting when people continue to say to you, you just don't, your best example I can give, how to succeed in business without really trying. I will always be told, you are a Finch, but you're also a Frump. And you're so much in the middle that generally a director can't make a decision, as if that is helpful to me. Because basically what that says to me is that a director, or that particular director, is looking to be whack-a-mole, and really like, that is a boom and that is a boom, as opposed to like, oh wow, we have somebody in the middle who can literally be a chameleon and can do whatever it is that we ask, and is willing to say yes to anything. um
Yeah.
and that's what I learned, is over the time of struggle, over that slow burn, is the things that I got involved with were either things that I created, or things that when I took the leap and I just went, I don't fit your genres, I don't fit your categories. If it helps you to understand me more, by all means, use your brands and categories to help you do your job. But my job is to show up, be me, do what I do, which is tell stories and tell the truth and bring energy and joy to what I do, and reality, bring real to it. Because I can be high in the clouds. I could be high as a kite without ever smoking a joint, and I could still be higher than that person. But I can still throw it on down back to reality and back to a place where it's universal. And if that's not your jam, if that's not your playlist of life, cool, it's all good, it's all good. At one point I took it way too personally. I took it
Yeah.
way too I'm not successful, I'm not this, I'm not achieving this. And all you need to do, and I'm very honest, and I feel very safe to say this with you, all you need to do is have a suicide attempt, which I have had in my life because of the struggle,
Mm-hmm.
and because of the loss of self that I started feeling. And you, if you are lucky like I was to have a support system when I reached out and cried for help, to have that moment where somebody looks at you and goes, you are everything that you need to be for yourself, and all you need to worry about for the rest of your life is being present and being your best, whatever that means in the moment.
I love you so much. And I totally understand. I totally understand. Um, yeah, suicide's a my best friend killed himself. He's always around.
Yeah.
And I've definitely had thoughts of, well, what if life just wasn't? You know, everyone's journey is very different. I just want you to know I thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
Because suicide is something that's it's very close to me, because I just think about it a lot because I lost my friend, and I just wish that he could have felt support around him. And I'm so grateful that you felt that support from your unit of friends. I mean,
Thank you.
and my wish for everyone out there when they're feeling like they can't is my wish is that you can. Like, you can just get through today. It's gonna be hard. It's not gonna fix anything. I mean, life's not gonna magically become better tomorrow, but you will have a tomorrow, and I'm so grateful that you have tomorrows.
I so grateful. I'm so grateful. I wake up every morning and I say to God, generally my first words or thoughts rather in my head are, thank you for the blessing of another day, for this body that I have, for this mind that I have, and for this soul that shines even in my janky what size bed is this? What's not? It's not a
Full
queen.
queen.
Full.
Yeah.
It's only full. It's only full.
It's
Sorry.
full. I have a full too. It's
You
all
know
you
what?
need.
It's full enough for me.
Full enough.
No, we live in a world, and if I can just echo one thing on that, it is there's always a hand to help. There's always, and you just have to say that to yourself over and over, and it may not be the person or the people that you think it is, but I mean it sincerely. Those hotlines, those text chats that you can do through support hotlines, lifelines, those numbers, they all help. They're there to be used. You will never be a burden, because that tends to be the first thing that I personally felt when I was like, should I ask for help? And it was I'm a burden. All of this is just going to be a burden to everyone in my life.
Mm-hmm.
You're not. You're not.
Guys, I just want us all to have like a moment of like a hug. Like, I just
Right?
want to send the energy out there of a hug. So what I would like to talk about is since we kind of are on the like mental health thing, I feel like this kind of goes in that realm because we were chatting before. I was like, how do you say your last name?
Mm.
Because you and I've known each other for so many years, but I'm such a people pleaser, which is something I work
Mm-hmm.
on. But it's that thing of like, I really don't want to say someone's name wrong.
Yeah.
Like, saying someone's name wrong, you know, it's disrespectful. And especially if you don't try to, like, what's your name? Or what's your name again? Could you repeat? Could you remind me how to say your last name, or could you tell me? And I have no problem asking that, and I'm happy that I have no problem asking that now,
Yeah.
which has not always been the case. And so I kind of wanted to talk to you about that because you said something really interesting. So if you
Yeah.
could share that with our viewers.
Of course. I mean, my last name is Bardier,
Mhm.
and a lot of people will say Bardier, Bardier, and I would always, when I became more of an adult, around, when I actually was getting paychecks every now and then, I would say to people, it doesn't matter. Oh, whatever you say is fine. Doesn't matter as long as it's spelled correctly and the check clears. And it
Mhm.
always got a laugh. And,
Always. Well, yeah, it's a
and
great line.
it's a great line.
Mhm.
And I probably stole it from someone, so I apologize if I took your joke. Um, I was in therapy one day, and we were talking about, you know, what are those moments? What are those moments where, we don't please ourselves? We aren't necessarily saying, this is who I am. This is actually authentically who I am, and making it as simple as, you say it like this: I am this. It was as if I would constantly invalidate myself of, my last name is not worthy of being said correctly. I'm not worthy of the time for somebody to ask me how to say my name. I'm not worthy of that. And
Mhm.
and in therapy, I just started having this entire explosion because I realized that I had set up this entire script of jokes that I had made in my life to basically ward off my desire to need things,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be to be seen as a good person, to be seen as this. I would constantly make the joke first
Yeah.
so that no one else could make fun of me. It
Yeah.
was this self-preservation, this protective shell that I didn't even realize I was doing, because what I was hearing was a laugh. So I felt like I was connecting and I was with this group of strangers. But in fact, what I was doing was I was just distancing myself further from them so that they couldn't figuratively touch me.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it it was mind blowing the amount of things that I did and continue to do and am working on towards that place of who am I, what am I doing, and why do I do it?
Yeah.
I ask that a lot.
And that's a good question. That's a good question. And I feel like we as performers, we get so much rejection, even just so much rejection, even, posting let's say you spend a long time working on a show, you post it online and it gets 4 likes, and you're like, we spent 6 months and 10 grand on this. What do you mean? And it can drive you a little mad, but it's asking that question of who am I? What do I want? And also like further dissecting it. Okay, this approach isn't working. What can I do to sell it even more?
Yeah,
You
just
know?
what and is it I definitely live in the world of service. I've always been somebody who wants to help others while I'm pursuing whatever path it is that I'm doing, or
Mm-hmm.
create opportunities that fuel helping
Mm-hmm.
others. Um, Mr. Rogers always said that a neighbor is someone who lives close to you, but a friend is someone who lives close to your heart. And I hope that at some point will be both. And I just,
Goosebumps.
yeah, he was the
Goosebumps.
best. And I always reflect on that because for me, it's what is it serving? Did you have an amazing time making that production, making that, and had incredible opportunities to spend time with friends and creatives? Or, or was it, what did it not serve you? Those 4 likes are 4 people who genuinely are interested in what you did. We live in a world of numbers, and recently, because of the tragedies both in Atlanta and Colorado, we've been speaking a lot about why do we use numbers to talk about things? Why do we
Mm-hmm.
always go to that when we should be talking about the names of the lives lost, the names, what they did, who they are, who they have now left behind, what they dreamed of, which is all of the stuff that us as artists think about all day long, whether we're thinking about a character or our own dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And I find myself the same with social media, and which has many beautiful, beautiful aspects. I truly believe that many, many beautiful aspects. But then we get into the problematic sides of the followers and the numbers and the algorithms that are created,
Mm-hmm.
so that if you only have 3 likes on a post, it disappears, as opposed to a photo with 100,000 likes and it's on everybody's feed. And those are algorithms.
Yeah.
That's not even you. And then what that does is it translates to us. Those numbers become this binary of law for how we perceive our successes, our failures, our the way that we see ourselves, as we are fully developed, lived, or we are constantly struggling to find out who we are. It turns us into basically like just confused, constantly in a cloud of and fog of not being able to see the mirror, which is seeing ourselves. We're right in front of the mirror, and what is this damn fog? Just it's so difficult and it's so challenging. And I'm not going to, I was going to say stand here. I'm not going to sit in my chair in my bedroom and tell people, just let it go, let it go. Just do it for yourself. You know what? Those are beautiful words and they're beautiful actions. And when you can get that jam into your life and you can shuffle that way, that's amazing. That is fantastic. But it's different for every single person. For me, it's having to delete all social media, start over, and go into social media with what is my mission?
Mm-hmm.
What is my actual reason for sharing?
Mm-hmm.
What do I post on my wall versus what do I post in my stories? And why do I do these things?
Mm-hmm.
And solely for me, which is very difficult to hear as an artist, because you generally as an artist are doing it for an audience or doing it for the other. But what we don't realize is we got to do it for ourselves first, because we need to plant the foundation so that we can stand for when the wind starts to blow back our way.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Which leads to my next question. So your podcast,
Yeah.
when's your launch date for this?
We I just made it sound like
I
there's a
say
team.
we all the time. It's me.
It's me.
Spoiler alert, guys. It's just me.
I say we a lot because
I mean
we wear so many hats.
Yeah.
We are the sound designer, the logo maker, the publicist, and we become a we in everything that we do. And that's just for a podcast, let alone like trying to write a solo show, trying to go to the gym and achieve fitness goal. Like everything is a we. And I'm also in it, like personally, everybody goes on their journey of faith, spirituality, or maybe doesn't find comfort in those types of faith. For me, I got God on my side. I'm grateful that I got God. God in my mind, I don't even know what God looks like. I don't even think God looks like anything. Probably God is a voluptuous woman. That's what I'm guessing, because if y'all think it's an old man with gray hair, you're so confused. Go to a diner and you'll see old men with gray hair, and you'll realize they don't even know what they're ordering.
Yeah.
But I believe in the universe. I believe that we are all connected, that our energies are all connected. And for me, it's just a matter of that collective we. I'm creating something to put out for others, so it is a we. Launch date TBD. I was very, very pressed on trying to get this timeline of I'm gonna have it up by May, I'm gonna have it up by June. I'm really blessed that a couple awesome opportunities came up for me in the next couple of weeks where I'm gonna get to go and travel and host national dance competitions again.
Oh,
and
that's
get to,
great.
and get to go see
Oh, that's awesome.
the children dance, which I genuinely am excited to see kids who have been stuck in their houses dancing in their living rooms, if they have one, to get to see them perform on a stage. I'm really excited to see kids do that first. I know everyone's excited for Broadway to open, as am I, but the children, I'm always about the kids. I love seeing the kids perform. It's so exciting. So I'm gonna say it's gonna happen sometime before the summer. I'm not in a rush. It's called Hi Neighbor. It's something that I based off of what I called my haikus that I did when I was on Facebook. Haikus was my take at a haiku, just not as short. And it was letters that I would write to a you, including myself, for anyone who needed to read them. And some people would always say, I love your motivational posts. And I would always be inspired that they would call them motivational posts, because for me, I would say, like, I'm not there. I need this just as much as the person who's reading it that needs it. It's more just me philosophizing, which is so funny, because I think as I've gotten older, my dad even said it, he's like, wow, you're such an existentialist and a philosopher. Like, I never thought that would be your vibe, but it is. So I decided with podcasts, because I don't have Facebook anymore, and I feel like Instagram, though there is a lot of writing that happens as opposed to pictures and videos, it just doesn't feel like the best place for it. And I felt like, what would happen if I can create a high neighbor, um, based off of obviously my love for Mr. Rogers and the community building that he did, and base something on a 5 to 7 minute daily podcast that's just a, like, literally it's a your daily dose of sunshine, even if it's cloudy, of like something to think about, something to consider as you're taking your shower, making your breakfast, that might change the way you see your day to follow. And every now and then we'll have special neighbors on, maybe once a month, to be able to have a quick little chat about what it's like in their community. We're all neighbors. I,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to get past that. I marvel at it. I recently just made a garden in front of my apartment building, and
Amazing.
it I needed to do it. My aunt, who passed away this past year,
Oh, I'm sorry.
thank you. She loved gardens, and I refused to do anything but celebrate lives. And I said, I'm gonna make a garden for her, since she is probably somewhere else making a garden or tending to the garden of the universe. And I did it. I was that boy in the city who was on his knees in on pavement, clearing out whatever was in that ground next to the tree, and went to Home Depot, got the soil, got the mulch, got the perennials, got some purple for it,
Oh,
because I will always go by the beautiful words of I think God would be pissed if you didn't stop in a field and notice the color purple. I botched that
mm,
line, but that's generally what it means, and I
mm-hmm.
think about that line often.
It's a good one.
And yeah, that's gonna be what the podcast is, and it's gonna be streaming somewhere, and it's gonna be something, and that's where I am right now, because I have learned over this past year that it is wonderful to give yourself deadlines and to give yourself goals, but it's also equally as important to give yourself honest conversations of where you're at and what your expectations can be with the daily energy that you possess and what you choose to do with it. And it might
Mm-hmm.
not be everything that you want right now. Again, your hustle, make it look like a shuffle.
I love him. Right? You're excited for the podcast too. I'm excited for the podcast. Whenever it comes into the world, my arms are very open and I
Thank
can't
you.
wait to listen to it. I'm very, very excited.
Thank you.
Um, I am sad that our time is nearing its end.
It is. And I know what's coming.
I asked this to everyone.
Mm.
And everyone deals with it differently. Everyone has a different answer. And I love hearing everyone's different answers. So, my question to you is when you feel fear, blah, 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 blah. So, my question to you is when you feel fear start to creep in, what do you do to combat that?
There's that great saying of leap and the net will appear.
Mm,
I'm not there yet.
mm-hmm.
So for me, it's that puddle right now may look like an ocean, but take the little leap. Take the little leap. Do what you did when you were a kid. You started off with one, two teachers in a room. You performed for them. You went from class to class to class to bigger to bigger to bigger. The fear started going away. It became, the fear became a friend.
Mm-hmm.
It became what it should be, which is going, what do you think about this?
Mm-hmm.
I say go. Then by all means, fear should say go. Fear wants you to go. Fear doesn't. We talk about fear as a blockage, as an enemy. I don't think there's any enemies inside yourself. I think that fear is there to give you a gentle nod of saying, is this truly important to you? Is this meaningful? Is this significant? And if you go yes, fear will just constantly check in on you, give you a little prick of you sure? And as long as you know in your heart and soul, you will say yes. And fear will go, just like it did for me in that moment and many other moments. Then by all means, lead the way. Hashtag lead
Leading
with
the
love.
way. Hashtag leading the way. Josh, I just love you. I'm
Right
so
back.
grateful that you're here. And for everyone out there, his links are down below. I also have them going across the screen that where you can figure out how to follow Josh. And I look forward to you coming back on the show again if you're
Thank
down
you.
for it.
I would love it.
I think you are if you're such a philosopher, and I think it's total bullshit that your dad didn't see that, because even you describing you as a child, it all makes so much sense. You know, the
My dad's
introspective
also
child.
My dad is
A
definitely
philosopher.
he's definitely
Yeah.
the white Mufasa.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He's
Okay. So it was one of those things of like, I don't understand why, but why? And then goes on his own little tangent. No, it's like looking in a mirror.
He took me to a hill one day and said, one day this will all be yours. And his voice just isn't as sultry as James Earl Jones.
Yeah. Most people's aren't. Josh, thank you so much. Yeah, you're the best.
What'd you think of the show? Did you enjoy yourself? Good. If you said no, chances are you didn't say no, because if you watched this long and you didn't like it, you'd have stopped it. Like, you'd have walked away, which is cool. Hey, we all got different things that float our boats. But if you did like the show, share it with a friend. Share it with one friend that you think would get a kick out of it. I will share this with multiple friends because I think that Josh is so much fun. And check out the stuff that he's involved in his podcast. Follow him on social stuff so that way you can learn about his podcast, because his podcast is going to be really awesome. I cannot wait for little nuggets to listen to. So, yeah. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Have yourself a beautiful day. And thank you so much for coming on this journey with me. You're amazing. Bye-bye.